Good morning, everybody. This is Walk the Dog with Riot Mort, coming to you from LA, which is very different. Very different. Normally, I would do the walk out there, but there's someone doing all the yard work like there with the blower, so I can't hear myself out there. So you get what we call the parking lot walk, where I go up and down the parking garage. But yeah, so I'm here in LA this week for some work stuff. Going to be getting work done. But yeah, it was a good weekend. Stream was really fun. I enjoyed my stream. Just some solid games of TFT. Got to sort all my Final Fantasy Magic cards, which was very relaxing. Little Father's Day, and then hop on a plane. So yeah. By the way, I gotta say, this is my little rant. This is my small thing, but nothing reminds you how to lose faith in humanity like watching people board an airplane. Boarding an airplane should be something simple. You get in, put your bag up real quick, you're ready to go, and you sit down. But man, the number of people that just can't find the right seat, or put their bag up and then pull it back down because they forgot something in their bag that they need for the flight and then can't get situated, or just their giant bag they're lugging around and their inability to put it up there. Or how many times they want to bump into other people because they're unaware of their own personal space. It is wild to me. It is wild to me just how... Anyway, that's my little rant. So, yeah, I don't... Flying just reminds me how much I don't want to be near other people out there in the world. So, yeah. Okay, anyway, I owe you guys questions. You guys ask questions, I answer them. That's how this works. There's some good ones today. Some longer ones. So the first one's been there for a bit. What are some cool design insights you learned from others over the years? Now... this is one where okay, so there's generic useful design, and then there's specific design, right? Because for a lot of my time, whether it was the Mario vs. Donkey Kong series or TFT or League, you're doing a lot of things that your learnings may only apply to those games. So it's hard to be oh yeah, I definitely learned how to make TFT better from someone else or whatever. But especially early on in my career, there were definitely some lessons that stuck with me and are okay, these are good things to learn, I should learn them. The first one is actually, I remember it really distinctly because it was a welcome lunch at Nintendo. So I had only been there we're talking a week. Not even a week. And so it was me and Josh, the two interns, along with Mr. Yamashiro, who was the president, and Robert, who was the vice president, along with my boss and a couple other designers. And it was a pretty small lunch, but, getting to have lunch with these two big people. And we were talking about video games, and I mentioned how, oh yeah, I'd love to make a multiplayer game, something. And he said something to me that is definitely true, and a lot of game designers don't realize it nowadays. He goes... yeah, but anything's fun multiplayer. Adding multiplayer is just an easy way to cover up bad game design. And, I've thought about that a lot over the years because he's right. I've watched people play the dumbest Steam games because it's multiplayer and it's fun, right? Playing with people, especially your friends, can make anything fun. And so a lot of the times in development, if you're making a multiplayer game, you can get blinded and think your game is more fun than it is because you're playing with your coworkers, or you're playing with other people that you like, or you do an internal play test and people are having fun because it's their first time and they're playing with other people. But it doesn't cover up it masks the fact that your core game is actually not that fun. And so I think a lot of the times if you look at some of the more, there's a lot, I'm not going to call out any specific examples, But if you look at a lot of the modern games in the gaming industry nowadays, there is a lot of, that is a bright sun. There's a lot of examples of just like, yeah, we made this game multiplayer, tee hee hee. And it maybe it even kicks off and becomes popular for like a few days, or even, a few months. But over time, it wears its welcome because the core isn't that deep or that interesting or that engaging. And so that was a pretty important lesson that I learned. And like I said, I watch people in the current industry at, companies still screw this up. They're like, oh yeah, we had a play test and everyone had fun. And it's like, well, yeah, because it was. So that's one of the really important lessons I learned. I've told this story before. Here's another early one. And again, it was like, we're talking like week 2. It's like I turn in my levels for Mario vs. Donkey Kong. My boss says, these are all way too hard. And I say, they're not too hard. I beat them no problem. And she says, oh, Mort, we don't make games for you. We make games for our players. And that's another lesson that like has stuck with me throughout these years. That, everyone's going to have their own personal tastes, but your personal tastes are irrelevant when you're making a game. What matters is the tastes of your players. And using yourself as a proxy for players is often very flawed. Very, very flawed. Don't do it. So, yeah, that's another one that I see a lot of people screw up. Anyway, when I say I see a lot of people screw up, I mean like professionals. I'm not talking just like casuals who are thinking they're having a good time. I am saying I see a lot of professionals with 10 plus years experience screw this stuff up. So that's another really important one. I'm trying to think. I had one more that I wanted to talk about. Oh, yeah, for Mr. Tanabe. So this was probably like year 3 or 4. So I'd been there a while. I'd gotten hired full time. And we were working on Miniland Mayhem. And I remember there was this moment where Mr. Tanabe was looking at the Mini Mario's walk speed. And he said, okay, how many pixels per second does it walk? And we were like 6. Or whatever the number was. I think it was 6. And he's like, well, did you try 5? And we're like, no. We thought 6 felt pretty good. He's like, did you try 7? Did you try 6.5? And the person who worked on it, which wasn't me, it was like, I tried 8, which was too fast, and then I tried 6, and that felt good. And Mr. Tanabe got really ticked off. He was like, what the hell? How do you know 6 is the best if you didn't try 6.5, 5.5? How are you supposed to understand that this truly is the best thing you could ship to our players? And it sounds silly because it's like, is this guy expecting you to try every single combination of things? And the answer is actually, yeah. Yeah, he is. Because if you're actually after game quality and you're trying to make the game as good as it can be, then yeah, you need to confirm that like maybe 5.9 feels just a little bit better. And, no one's saying that, like, again, if we talk about like 5.9 versus 6, subjectively that might not matter, right? But something like 5 versus 6 can make a big difference. And if you didn't actually try it yourself and know for sure, how do you know that that's not better, right? You need to be the master who understands everything about your game, right? And this is, hilariously enough, I still use this on TFT all the time. It's like, you put in a spell number. Did it hit hard enough? What happened when you doubled it? Did it feel better? Like, did you try a version where this could hit chunky? And a lot of the times, game devs will take shortcuts, right? Where it's like, good enough. But again, if you're really trying to make the best game you can, you don't take those shortcuts. You try everything, you understand everything. And so that's a cool thing that I still use to this day, of like really trying to push people to understand their content. And so I often coach a lot of the people on the TFT team. It's like, if you're the person who made this champion, you need to tell me, like, what's their best in slot? What are you intending them to play this? How are you intending them to play this? When they do that, does that feel good? Let's take Poppy in set 14. Did you put 3 brambles on Poppy and see how hard Poppy's spell hits? Did it feel good? Because if it didn't, why are you making the spell that scales with armor and baiting me? You're telling the player, hey, you're telling the player the spell scales with armor, so put 3 brambles on it and you'll get some cool power. But then if you do that, you don't, So, yeah, I think I'm going to go with those are the 3, like, big lessons I can remember learning that I still use to this day and still bring up and still see a lot of people in the game industry screw up. So, yeah, by the way, I don't know if you can hear this leaf blower, but this leaf blower is very annoying, and my guess is it's going to be going on for 2 hours. So, if you can't hear it, great. Then this microphone is doing its job. So, anyway, there you go. There's some cool early design learnings. All right, next question. This person was asking about, like, what made, I'm the kind of person who likes routine. And if you've been at a company for a long time, like Nintendo, I was there for 11 years, you can get comfortable. So what made you finally decide to leave Nintendo, and what was that process like? So here's the thing. You can have the best job in the world. You can be really, really happy with where you're at, and things can be great. But you're going to have bad days. And you're gonna also, it's just human nature to question. I miss walking where there was no noise, by the way. Now there's a car alarm going off. Jesus Christ. You're going to have days where you question if this is, like, all there is to it, or is there anything else you want to do? Again, it's just natural, right? And, like, days where your boss yells at you and you're like, do I really want to be here? I don't know, And so at Nintendo, those days were definitely, like, they would come and go, right? Like, my buddy Dean, who was my engineering friend, he and I would always go to lunch and just complain about, like, why are we doing this stupid thing? Or I can't believe it. Or why does this person get away with taking, 7 sick days a month for multiple months? That's so lame. Or I remember one that was really distinct where it was like, the way the Nintendo bonus structure worked was you would get a bonus 0 to 20% of your salary based on how awesome you were. And, like, I had some pretty awesome years, and I would hit like 18 or 19% bonuses, which is great. And then I became a manager, and I got to be a part of that structure where we talked about the bonuses, and you see that the lowest person, the worst person at your company, is getting 10%. And so the difference between you slacking off, taking it easy, and not pushing yourself was 10% to you pushing yourself like crazy, doing amazing work and everything, 18%. So you're telling me 8% was the difference? It's like, is that worth it? You start to have moments like that where you're, like, questioning why you're doing things or if it's worth it. There's also the, for example, we had made 5 Mario vs. Donkey Kong games, and then they give you the illusion of, like, well, we're going to let you pitch and brainstorm ideas. And if you come up with a good idea, we'll let you make it. So you pitch a bunch of ideas, and they're like, well, we don't think that one's going to work. Well, we don't think that one's going to work. Have you thought about making another Mario vs. Donkey Kong game? Until eventually, some higher up at Nintendo Japan goes, oh, we want to do something with Miiverse. Could you make a Mario vs. Donkey Kong that uses Miiverse? And you're like, okay, cool. There's our project. And you're like, time to do another Mario vs. Donkey Kong, right? And so it's like, meanwhile, you're playing League of Legends, or you're playing Metroid Prime, or whatever you're playing, and you're like, I kind of want to make one of those things. I don't want to sit here and make Mario vs. Donkey Kong for the rest of my career, So you begin to question, like, is this it? Is this all I'm doing? So eventually what happened is, for me at least, moments like those come, and during those moments, you find yourself going, well, what else is out there, right? Like, because I have a good job, it supports my family, Nintendo wasn't the best paying job out there, but like I was able to buy a house in 2008, so couldn't have been that bad, right? So you question like if you should even go look for something else or whatnot. But at the end of the day, hilariously enough, I had been at Riot, or I'd been at Nintendo for, I want to say 6 years, and I had one of those moments. And interestingly enough, I had gone to PAX that year, and this was the year that PAX, Riot did their like LCS championships at PAX, I think. I could be getting my timelines wrong here. But TLDR here is I had emailed Tom Cadwell, who's still here, and I had said, hey, I really like how League of Legends is really easily accessible. It kind of reminds me of Smash Brothers, where the core mechanics are actually pretty simple. You know, you're a character with 4 moves, that's easy. But the depth in how you play it was really deep, and I liked that. And he replied, and he was kind of like, hey, only a designer would look at it like that. You should consider applying here. So I did. And so the first time I applied to Riot, actually, I went through their extensive interview. I got flown down. This was before they were even at this campus. But at the time, Dominion had come out, and I was playing a lot of Dominion because I thought it was fun. And they were looking for somebody who was a lot more into League of Legends. And so because of that, I ended up failing the interview. They didn't think I was ready. So they passed on me. Okay, fair enough. I went back to Nintendo, worked there another 5 years, became a director. My boss got fired. I led 3 projects. I still liked what Riot did. I was still playing League pretty frequently. And I decided to give it one more shot. So I applied to Riot again. It was, again, the only company I ever applied to while I was at Nintendo was Riot twice. And the second time, I remember, it was like extensive interviews. We're talking, this was before Riot had reformed their interview process. So I need you guys to understand that I went through like 10 or 11 different interviews, including an on-site, and then after the on-site, some more interviews. Because they just like couldn't quite figure out. They were like, we think he's a good designer, but we don't really know what team wants him or what to do with him. And so finally one person gave me a chance and was like, all right, we'll take him. And I ended up on League on Pi. But to give you an idea, I went from a director to a mid-level designer. Riot was like, we'll bring you in, but only as a mid-level designer, which, was quite the risk. But it was a pay increase. And it was something new to do. It wasn't another Mario versus Donkey Kong. So I talked to my wife. She wasn't really excited about it. The idea of moving to California, she was like, kill me. I don't want to move to California. But it's your career. We'll take a chance on it. So I will give you the benefit of this doubt. And my wife was awesome and took a chance on it. And she really, if she hadn't taken that chance, I would probably still be at Nintendo. But she did. We came to Riot. And then I got to, feel the imposter syndrome of coming to Riot, thinking everyone is smarter than you, and then slowly figuring out that that's not really true, while also just trying to deliver really good stuff. And blah, 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 blah. 7 years passing, or 8 years, I don't know. So that was kind of the gist of it. But the thing is, you're always going to have these moments at any company. Like I said, you could have the coolest job in the world. I still have these moments today. If I'd be lying if I didn't tell you there was at least one time on TFT, so not even just at Riot, at TFT, where I talked to another company just to have a discussion, because it's like, man, TFT is a little rough right now, or TFT doesn't appreciate the work I do, You just have those moments. It's human nature. Now, obviously, I didn't pursue any of that, and I didn't, since I've been at Riot, I have not interviewed with another company. I can say that truthfully. I've had light conversations with people, but sometimes it's, to be friendly to them or to create connections. But, yeah, it's natural, so, yeah. But, yeah, so that's kind of how that process went, and the rest is history, and what I will say is I'm glad I made the jump. It ended up being correct. But I'm also one of those people that if I could work at the same company for 30 years, I would. I'm too old-fashioned. I don't believe in company jumping to get raises. And it's worked out for me, but, you know. By the way, since I'm here at the top of the parking garage, you guys can see the view. I'm going to do a 360 up here. But it's a pretty nice view. That freaking leaf blower is still going, though. Driving me nuts. But here's the view. Woo! Look at that city view. Pretty cool. So, all right, next question. How do you decide which augments are added or removed on refresh? This is a great question. I really like this question. So I'll be honest with you. The augment space in TFT is probably the ripest design space and the most underappreciated design space in TFT. The difference a set can have between a batch of good augments and a batch of mediocre augments can make or break a set at its highest level. And I bet some of your most memorable games are because you got some combination of augments or an augment that you don't get to play with very often, but when you do, something miraculous happened. The best augments in the game make TFT. I wouldn't say necessarily more than champs and traits, but almost as much, right? Like, augments are really, really important. And under that guise, it's something that we haven't really found the right amount of investment on the development side to like make and organize augments perfectly. So what I'm basically saying is the augments kind of get haphazardly, like, here's what we've got, we need new ones. There's a couple frameworks that are pretty easy, right? Like, okay, we need new trait augments. Duh. Those are easy. But the only real framework we have right now is something I should have had a better term, but I called it lightning bolts. And the reason I called it lightning bolts, and this is my Magic the Gathering background coming in, is if you look at the Magic the Gathering card lightning bolt, 1 red mana, deal 3 damage. There are a lot of different versions of this spell. If you go through, like, the one I always remember is Shock, which was just 1 red mana, 2 damage. There's stuff that's like 2 red mana, 3 damage, but they can't be regenerated. 2 mana, 2 damage to 2 targets, right? But they're all essentially just variations of the card Lightning Bolt with slight twists. And so I have said that TFT benefits when we Lightning Bolt some of our augments, right? So Celestial Blessing is just Omnivamp for your team. Makes sense. If we had left Celestial Blessing in the game forever, boring, right? So what you want to do is take some of these augments that have essentially gotten stale and lightning bolt them and go, okay, well, instead of Omnivamp for your team, now it's a little less Omnivamp for your team, but any extra overhealing does true damage. Or there was the version that was like, any extra healing becomes overheal. Or now I think we literally have the augment called Overheal, which provides extra healing on a different cadence, right? It's like, but at the end of the day, mechanically, they're all Omnivamp, right? They're all the Omnivamp augment. But mixing that up and creating variants set to set is healthy and good and fun. So that's a good thing. So a lot of the times it's like, okay, look through the augments in a current set. Which ones are people not really that excited to see? Which ones are they passing up? And let's lightning bolt those. Then there's also look through the entire augment catalog, and it's like, which ones are just like not working? Like, nobody picks these, nobody understands these. Why are they still here? Let's just get rid of those. Do those even deserve a lightning bolt? Maybe not. Maybe those aren't particularly exciting. So we cut those. Then there's the augments that are like, they're so good and everyone loves them and they're popular, and lightning bolting them would be pretty obvious or just not that interesting. So the best example here is Portable Forge, right? Portable Forge gives you an artifact. Nice, clean, simple. Could we artifact that, or could we lightning bolt that? Yeah, sure. Every turn, gain a gold after 5 turns, gain an artifact anvil, or something. Like slight variations, sure, but are they really better or cleaner? No. So Portable Forge just gets to stick around and be kind of this like key part of the game, and it has enough built-in variance with it yourself that like nobody gets tired of Portable Forge. It's like people are excited by Portable Forge. There's other versions I think that are similar to this. I'm personally a huge Birthday Present fan, though I don't think that one's quite as strong as Portable Forge. I mean, again, when I say strong, I mean design. I don't mean win rate power. So there's that. But yeah, and so generally when we're doing a big augment refresh, that's kind of how we tier them. It's like the stuff that people love and have fun with that we don't want to get rid of, those don't get changed. The stuff that's good but getting a little stale, let's lightning bolt them. And then the stuff that's not very interesting, people haven't really been having fun with it. We tried, it was a nice experiment, or it's unhealthy for the game. Let's take this opportunity to cut them. And that would be kind of the overall framework. Now, that being said, I still think there are improvements we could be doing to like, hey, it's been a while since we've seen Celestial Blessing. Isn't it time for it to come back at some point? Yeah, maybe. And yeah, it's not going to like reinvent, like no one's going to lose their mind because, oh my God, Celestial Blessing's back. But you never know. There's people who'll be like, oh, that's cool. I liked Celestial Blessing. You know, I've legitimately had people be like, I miss Harm Assist. And you're like, really? Okay. But like, cool. I'm glad you enjoy it. You know, so yeah, that's kind of how it works. But again, like augments is one of those things that I wish we had a stronger like system, and you know, it usually just becomes secondary to the core set, right? Like we're still trying to make core sets and get them done on time. And then it's like, oh, right. And then the augments come with them, and the augments come a little last minute. So yeah, that's kind of how it works. So, all right, now we're at 28 minutes or 27 minutes, but we have one more question, which was really, really easy, so I can just get this one out. How was lobby size chosen? Why 8? Now, this is one where I think I'm going to ruin the illusion of game design for you a little bit here. Sometimes there are well thought out, you know, methodical, very clear reasons, and it's like I can tell you exactly why we thought of this. Like I said in that first lesson, we thought about all the different properties and all the different things it could be, and we were like, nope, here's why it's exactly this and not this, because this does this and this is the trade-off. Yep, that's exactly how it works. Other times, it's because someone randomly made a decision and we didn't change it. That's it. In the case of 8, it was like, well, Auto Chess had 8. So when we started developing ours, we started with 8. And no one challenged it. No one ever went, you know, because they were trying to make TFT really, really quick. No one went, is 6 better? Is 8 better? Is 10 better? What I can tell you is no one probably went, is 10 better? Because having more people is tough, right? You have to load in more people. And we were already concerned that, like, can you even make TFT, right? Because it's like, can we make it in the League engine? Can it support it? So 8 felt like we have to match the competitor, but we can't do less because we'll be disappointing. But we're pretty confident we can't do more because tech issues. So it's 8. Now, should it be 8? Maybe not. Again, going back to that first design lesson, I can't confidently tell you because we never tested 10 or 12 or 16, you know. What I can tell you is, if I were thinking about it now, logically, if you have, too many people, then it becomes hard to associate who is who and form rivalries, right? Imagine trying to scout 12 players or 16 players. But if you have too few, then it becomes this closer to like one-on-one situation. And so 8 feels approximately like the right number, where it's like, you can, if you scout people, you can about keep track of like 5 to 6. It's like 1 over. But again, if it were only 6 players, that would be kind of weird. And in fact, some of you competitive players, if there's any of you watching, have maybe even played in a 6-player lobby and been like, that's weird. So 8 ended up kind of being the number. But yeah, is it the perfect number? I can't actually tell you that for sure because we didn't really have a great reasoning for that one. Part of making a game quick sometimes. So there you go. All All right, it is 30 minutes here. This is usually when I end it. I'm going to go change clothes, get ready for work, and start working. It's about 3 hours. It's like 6:30 now. So about 3 hours before anyone else is going to start showing up anyway. Hopefully I can go inside where it's quiet and actually hear my damn thoughts, because that leaf blower is still going on. Like I said, it'll go on for an hour, because of course it will. I miss being in the middle of nowhere. So, okay, that's going to do it for me. Hopefully this turns out good. I've got Riot stuff to do, and yeah. All right, until next time, take it easy.